welcome back to my channel. If you've never watched one of my videos, I'm Mariana and I mostly post book related videos, maybe an occasional vlog. I say maybe post, I haven't posted it in a hot minute and there's really no explanation for that. So I mostly post when I'm feeling inspired, so that could be weekly, that could be monthly, that could be yearly. So there's really no telling, there's no schedule, it's purely based on vibes over a year. Anyway, with that being said, for today's video, I have been feeling like I'm in the fall spirit. It's the end of August and we've been hit with like 2 weeks of like 60 to 70 degree weather, and so like the chill in the air has really just like woken something up in me. Fall is 100% my favorite season. Summer is fun for a minute, and then I don't know, something about like a cool crisp breeze when I can just wear like a sweater out and sit outside with like a blanket reading my book is like quite literally one of the best feelings ever. So that is, I don't know, I just look forward to it every year. So with that being said, for this video I'm mostly just going to be mood reading a bunch of books. A lot of them give kind of fall vibes, at least in my opinion. I say that, I haven't read them, so I don't actually know if that's true. But from what I can, I don't know, suss out based on what the books are about, they give me fall vibes in the sense that like I would, out of all the seasons, fall feels like the right season to read them in. Granted, you can read them whenever you want, that is your prerogative. I have 5-ish books on my fall TBR. I call it a fall TBR. I don't really love making TBRs for myself because I feel like it restricts me, so if I feel like I want to read something different, I will. I should at least get through some of them. I'm also rereading the Addicted series with one of my friends. She's reading it for the first time and I felt left out, so I'm rereading it with her now. So that book might also be in here because depending on when she finishes the book she's on, we'll start the next one and I'm waiting for her. So the first book that I'm going to be reading for this video is The Shining by Stephen King. I just bought this today. And I've been wanting to read a Stephen King book for so long and I could never decide which one to read. I've seen, so many like of his fans love so many of his books, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. I haven't seen any Stephen King movies aside from the first It, so I read the back of this, but other than that, I feel like I've probably seen clips of The Shining before, but I've never actually seen the movie or know like what the movie is about. I'm also just like spectacle. Is that the word? It's not spectacle. What is the word? When you're like suspicious. No. Oh my god, this is gonna bother me. Spectacle is not the word I'm thinking of. Skeptical. Oh my god. Good thing I'm starting school again next week. I'm skeptical about the horror genre in general. I know Stephen King is the king of horror, so if like anyone's gonna do it right, it's gonna be him. But I'm just skeptical about it because I can't say that word without thinking of my mistake. I'm skeptical about it because I just don't understand, or I can't see how like a horror book would be scary. Because one, I don't really think horror movies are that scary just because like I tell myself it's not real and then it like loses all its effect. But even like in a horror movie, I feel like the only things that like tend to get me, if they do, are like the jump scares or like the soundtrack. That's what makes a horror movie scary to me, in my opinion. And so like reading a horror book and like doing it that way, consuming it that way, like I just don't, like my brain can't comprehend how it's supposed to be scary. And I could completely be like stand corrected because obviously he does something in his books to like hook people, but I just like, I don't know, like I can't imagine being scared from words on paper. But maybe that's just me, and maybe I'm completely contradicting myself, and or I I don't know. I genuinely don't know. With all that being said, this is the first book that we are reading in today's video, and I will get back to you when I know a little bit more about what's going on. Reading update. I am only like 50 pages in. It's starting a little bit slowly, but pretty much the premise of the book, at least from what I've gathered in 50 pages, is the main character Jack just got a job working at this hotel. He's gonna be like the winter manager, and so he's in charge of like running the hotel, like keeping it updated like throughout the winter, and the winters can get like really bad. And the owner and like one of the employees is like telling him about the backstory of the hotel and how one of the, or like the very first winter manager, he and his family moved into the hotel and he developed like cabin fever and ended up murdering his entire family. And so the owner is like apprehensive to hiring Jack because Jack is also moving in with his family, and he prefers to, like, you learn all of this in like the first chapter, and he prefers to hire like single people so that there isn't like a threat of that happening again. And so it's basically just Jack learning about the history of the hotel and like learning what his job is going to take part of. And then you also get the point of view of his wife and his son, which just gives you a little bit of more gives you a little bit more insight into like their family's past and why he needs this job, and something bad happened like at his old job, and so he got fired, and so that's why they need this job. But then in the son's point of view, he can like see, at least from what I've understood, he can like see spirits, and so he can connect to a different like realm than everybody else. But so he talks about like knowing more than like what his parents think that he knows, and that he wishes that they would just like believe what he says. But aside from that, like nothing's really happened yet. So far so good though. I'm interested. I feel like I have a couple predictions as to what is going to happen, and it kind of foreshadows a little bit. So I am interested to keep reading and find out what happens. I feel like this is gonna be a slower read unless it like really picks up. But so far it's interesting. I'm curious to see like how it plays out, if it like mirrors the past in any way. But yeah, that's my update. 50 pages in, and I'm gonna keep going. update. I have temporarily put down The Shining only because my friend who I was talking about, who I'm rereading the Addicted series with, she just started Hot House Flower and was texting me about it, and I like remember the core components of what happened throughout the series, but I read it like 3 years ago. It's one of my favorite series, but I like don't remember the small details, and so I was feeling left out of the conversation. And so I'm back with an update. I'm a little over 100 pages in. I fell asleep reading last night. And I just got to the part where they're like moving into the hotel for the winter, and so far it's good. I think it's just a little bit slow, and hopefully it'll start to pick up now that they're like at the hotel. I do enjoy getting like multiple point of views, especially because like when you get multiple point of views, you get like their different perspectives on like the same situation. And I do like being in Danny's point of view. He's the son. I think that that's super interesting. It's probably like the main plot point of the book, and so I'm interested to see like the direction that it'll go and like how the plot will develop. Again, like I have some predictions, and I'm mostly just interested to see like how they play out, because I do think that there's a lot of foreshadowing in the story itself, and so I'm just curious like how we get to certain points and like if there will be some kind of plot twist. But I'm kind of reading it slowly, but so far it's interesting. At least it's just like different than anything I've read. I haven't read like any kind of thriller in probably over like 2 years. It's probably been like 2 years since I read my last thriller, and so jumping into like a horror book right now after reading like purely romance and fantasy and a little bit of fiction is like a little, I don't know if jump scare is the right word, but jarring to say the least. So that's my update as of right now. Not hating it, not loving it, but intrigued and curious to see what is going to happen next. So I'm going to try and keep reading slowly but surely. We will make our way through this. It's not a DNF yet because I do want to know, and I want to watch the movie after I finish, so that's motivation to keep reading. But that's all I got right now. Got like 500 pages left, so we will see what happens next. Also, my friend did finish Kiss the Sky, so Hot House Flower will most likely be the next book I'm reading, which I'm excited about. So might be a good palate cleanser depending on what happens here. I started rereading Hot House Flower because I was feeling left out, and so we have temporarily put down The Shining, not because I think it's bad. I think it was actually starting to get good. Like when I stopped reading earlier today, I'm like I think 150 pages in, and like it's starting to get good. The plot is developing a little bit more, and like I'm actually interested, and so I don't want to say that I'm putting this down for good. I really truly do just anticipate reading Hot House Flower. I'm a pretty quick reader, especially when I'm like highly emotionally invested in books like I am with the Addicted series, so I don't doubt that I will finish that quickly. So yeah, I'm hoping that I'll probably finish that at some point tomorrow or like early Monday. I really think that I'll probably finish it tomorrow. But yeah, so we're pausing The Shining, not because it's bad. I will get back to it after I finish Hot House Flower, but we are putting it on hold, just temporarily. Anyway, I think I'm like 20% of the way through Hot House Flower. Why can I not say that? Hot House Flower. I'm like 20% of the way through it, maybe, I don't know, 15, 20. And I don't know why this happens. Like, whenever I think of like series that I really liked, it's like hard for me to like even like think about rereading them, because it like physically, like, I don't know, something inside of me just like hurts to think about rereading. Like this happens with Throne of Glass. I want to reread it so badly, but I just like genuinely cannot fathom like putting myself through that pain again. And it's kind of similar, like as much as I love the Addicted series and like I'm so satisfied with the way that like the entire series ends as a whole, it's like the journey to get to that ending is so just like gut-wrenching and painful that like, I don't know, putting myself through it again, like it's almost worse rereading it just because I know what happens and I know like the major plot points. And so it's like I'm sitting here reading it, like anticipating that happening. And I'm also like struggling with like being at the beginning of the book and like just wanting to be like at the middle because like I know what happened. And so I want to like rush through and skim the beginning parts to just get to the middle because I've already read it. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I should just like slow down and like read this and like process everything that's going on. So like it's kind of, I don't know, I'm in like a weird position when it comes to rereading these books. And I've honestly felt that way with the other two that I reread too. I feel like starting them was hard and like there'd be points where I'd like put them down and I'd be like, I can't pick that back up because like I don't want to experience the like feelings that I felt the first time reading the series again. And so like I'm just like going through that right now, and it's like this is my like one of my favorite books from the series from what I can remember. And so it's just like I'm anticipating so much and I just want it to already be happening and I just want them to like be happy right away. And so yeah, anyway, with all that being said, sorry that rudely cut me off. If you haven't read the Addicted series, it's pretty much technically it's two series, but they're interconnected and you should read them in the order that the authors have put like at the front of the books. So it's technically the Addicted series, which follows one couple, Lily and Lo, and then it's the Calloway Sisters series, which follows two of the other sisters, Rose and Daisy. And so the first book, Addicted to You, follows Lily and Lo, and they pretty much are both struggling with different addictions. I would definitely read trigger warnings, but also just like go into it knowing that there's a lot of talk of like sex and alcohol use and just like addiction in general, and like those family dynamics. So just go into that knowing that that's what the story is about. But I do think I was a little apprehensive about it at first too, but after reading even the first book, I was like immediately hooked because it's pretty much like, think of like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but they aren't like influencers per se. So they just like both come from like these super rich families. Like Lo's dad is the CEO of a company that kind of mirrors Johnson & Johnson. And then Lily's family, her dad is the CEO of Fizzle, which is basically like a Coke Pepsi competitor. And so they just come from like these super wealthy backgrounds. And so it's pretty much just like reading about rich people problems. Don't go into it thinking that there's going to be like this like extensive like plot throughout the book that you're like trying to solve. It's more of like a character study, character analysis of like the families and the different like relationships between siblings and between characters. So yeah, that's like a brief general overview of what the series is about. Anyway, Hot House Flower is the fifth book in the series, I think, and there's like 10 books. So this one follows two of the characters that you meet in the first book, and their journey, but it's definitely like my favorite story out of all of them. And so I think that also like I'm just so emotionally invested that I almost like don't want to read, which like doesn't make any sense, but at the same time like in my head does make sense because I just like don't want to feel the feelings that I felt the first time reading this again. And like I felt that when I reread Addicted for Now, and I also felt that when I was reading Kiss the Sky. And the thing is, I also remember specific plot points, but I don't remember when and in which books they happen. And so I'm like sitting here like anticipating this stuff, and I don't know when it is gonna happen, and so I'm scared. Like I just feel scared reading the books, and like I don't know, it's not healthy the way I feel. Anyway, I could talk about this series forever. I love it so much. But yeah, that's my rant. Anyway, put down The Shining, reading this. Hopefully this won't take me too long, but also I don't know because I'm scared to keep going. Anyway, I made myself a sandwich, so I'm gonna eat her and then hopefully keep reading. Otherwise, I'll pick up where I left off tomorrow, but most likely I'll keep reading tonight. And I will check back in with an update on whatever book I am reading when I see you again. I'm 47% of the way through Hot House Flower, and I forgot how much I love this book. I'm crying, and I'm just reading it, and I just love the way they love each other, and they're like there for each other no matter what. And that's all I can say really without spoiling the entire series, but I love them so much. And it's just so, I don't know. They just like don't want to hurt anybody, and also just like want to be there for everybody. And you just can't have it always at once, all the time. That's all. That's my update. I'll probably finish this tomorrow, but I'm gonna keep reading. Hey guys, I'm editing this video right now, and it's like a month later. It's over a month later. I think I started this video probably like September 1st, and it's like mid-October right now. So this was kind of a flop, but it turned into more of a manacled reading vlog, if you will, but I never prefaced that. I read a couple books between finishing Hot House Flower and starting Manacled. I think I read Wild Card by Elsie Silver, which is the 4th book in that series. I can't even remember what it's called, but it pretty much follows a firefighter. He's like a grumpy, closed-off firefighter, and then a yoga instructor. And yeah, it was a good little romance. It was a good palate cleanser between Hot House Flower, and that's kind of it. But yeah, I never ended up going back to The Shining. Hopefully it's still sitting right there. Hopefully one of these days I'll get around to it, but especially at the end of October, there are so many new releases that I've been looking forward to for like years. So I have a feeling that is not going to be high on my priority list to finish. It's not fully DNF'd, it's just soft DNF'd. Anyway, then I read Breaking Point by Mads Rafferty. It's just like a chill hockey romance. Honestly, don't really remember it. I think it had more to do with like mental health. But again, I can't really remember. And then I read Manacled, which you guys will see in the next clips. I just didn't really intro it or explain how we got to that point, but yeah, it's like a month and a half later, so that is how we got to this point. I was in just like kind of a reading slump, and I was trying to like branch out, and then that didn't work, and then I wasn't really wanting to read anything. I didn't have the mental capacity to keep going on my reread of the Addicted series because I just didn't want to put myself through that pain again. So yeah, I never continued that, and I was just kind of in like this slump, and I was like, what can get me out of this? And then on TikTok I saw everyone reading Manacled, and so I was like, you know what, I want to read Manacled, and so I did, and that is what you will see now. But yeah, I just wanted to preface this that this was kind of a failed reading vlog, even though I don't know. I was still reading. It's just, this is like a month in the making, more than a month in the making. But yeah. Anyway, enjoy my thoughts on Manacled next. This is me before starting Manacled. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, except pain. Okay guys, sorry for the poor quality. It is 7 p.m. Quick Manacled update though. I am about 20% in and I still have like 22 hours left of the book, which is just crazy to me. But I'm eating it up. This is the first day that I've read like a substantial amount. Like every other day that I've read, it's been like in chunks and I've like fallen asleep while reading. Not because it's bad, but I think I'm just like physically exhausted and so I just keep falling asleep whenever I start to read. But I'm eating it up, like every single crumb and every little like snippet we get. Don't get me wrong, it's dark and testing some of my morals in the sense that like some things will happen that I look past more than others. That's all I'll say on that though. Definitely check trigger warnings if you're looking to read this book because it is very heavy on some topics. But I'm eating it up and I have so many theories and I know that one of them has to be true, but I don't know like the specifics of it or like why it is the way that, why things are happening the way that they are. So I have a couple of theories. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I also don't really know if this is a romance, like, sorry. Anyway, I don't know if I'm supposed to be rooting for them if it's a romance, because it is a Draco and Hermione fanfic, and I can like see where people are coming from, but I just don't know how it's gonna end or what to expect in any way, and that scares the living shit out of me because I see this book like devastate people, and so I don't know in what ways it devastates people. Like, how can you ship them and then be like broken at the end of this, you know? Maybe it's like a Kingdom of Ash feeling. I don't really know. I don't know what to expect. Anyway, that's my update. I'll be back when I've read more, when hopefully there's less than 22 hours left because God, this book is thick. Anyway, I will be back with an update later. You guys, I'm finally making a breakthrough in this book. I'm like, I think a little over 60% of the way through. I've still got 10 hours to go. I'm not even close to the end. But I fear this book is going to break me. Because I'm so emotionally invested in this, and Soft Boy Draco is literally everything I could have asked for. And I fear it's gonna be the end of me. This isn't a spoiler because I don't even know what's gonna happen, but I think someone's gonna die. Like, there's no way I get to the end of this book and no one dies, because like how else is this book breaking people the way that it is? Like, someone's going to die is what I'm like mentally preparing myself for. I still don't think I'm gonna be mentally prepared when it happens, but I fear that this book is going to wreck me. It's really good and I'm eating it up. It starts out like in the present, after like the war, after they've lost the war and Voldemort has won and she's like a prisoner of war, pretty much. It starts out in the present, and then you learn pretty early on that she's like protected a bunch of her memories by like warding them in her mind, and so like she doesn't even know what they are, and so you're like wondering throughout that entire part like what her memories are. And then I don't even know what percent of the book, but then you jump into like just a whole section of like flashbacks, which is what I'm in the trenches of right now. Sorry, that's for my noodles. But so I'm in the trenches of the flashbacks right now, and I am eating them up, which makes me terrified because I'm far far more emotionally invested in this than I thought I was. Especially considering it's been like a week of me reading, and I'm only just now getting halfway because I kept falling asleep at the beginning because I wasn't emotionally invested. But now I am emotionally invested. I'm only a little over halfway, and I still have 10 more hours, and I'm like, they're gonna get me even more invested in these 10 hours, and I'm scared. So that's my update so far. Loving Soft Boy Draco. Scared for the future, which is technically the present because we're in the past. It's a little wishy-washy with the timeline, but the point is, I'm scared of the ending of this book. Like, I just don't understand, like, I don't think they can have a happy ending, which is so horrible to say because I want them to have a happy ending, but I just don't think the circumstances are going to allow for them to have a happy ending, which is heartbreaking. And maybe that's why people are so sad when they finish this book. I don't know. Do I want to know? Probably not. I'm afraid for myself in 10 hours. But all that being said, it's a really good book, like eating up every single bit of it now. Especially because I can relate to Hermione in some of the ways that she's acting, where she's just like giving up all of herself because she doesn't think she matters. I'm like, you know what, girl, that was a little too real. Or like when there was a scene where she was like, everyone has their like person to go to after the war or like after battle, and I don't have anyone. And I was like, same girl. Again, hit a little too close to home on that one. So a little emotionally invested, a little scared for my future and their future, everyone's future, TBH. I might need to take a break between this book and then reading Alchemized, not only because of the emotional toll I fear it may have on me, both of them, but also because they are both thick books. I don't know how many pages Manacled is because it is a PDF, so I don't actually know like page count or anything. I really only know hours left, and I know that I started at like 28 hours, so the fact that we're at 10 is like crazy to me. I'm gonna go eat my noodles and keep reading. We'll circle back when I got something else to say. You guys, I'm stressed. There's still 2 hours left in the book and I'm so stressed. I'm like shaking right now. I'm so stressed. You guys, I'm so scared. I have like, I think an hour and a half left of Manacled, probably maybe a little bit more. I'm so scared because people talk about, I mean, just all the pictures and videos that I see of people after they finish this book, they're like a sobbing mess, and everyone talks about how they're just not the same after finishing Manacled, and I'm like, what on earth is going to happen? Because I'm just, I don't know. I'm not prepared, I don't think. I don't know what's gonna happen. My mind wants one thing to happen. I'm trying to like tell myself to not expect that because that would just be too perfect, too easy. And I'm like, I'll be happy if they live together. I'll even be happy if they both fucking die at the end. But like, I can't have one of them live without the other. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. Sorry if that's a spoiler. It's taken me like 3 weeks to read this book. So anyway, that's my update. I'll probably finish it either tonight. I'll probably end up finishing it tonight. Which is even more scary because I'm like, what the hell? What does that mean? I don't know what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna be. Is it gonna be like when I finished A Little Life? Because I was like hyperventilating. Like I could have thrown up. I was crying so hard at the end of A Little Life. Can it be as bad as that? I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm genuinely so scared. But we're not there yet. We're almost there, but we're not there yet. Anyway, that's all I have for you right now. I'll see you when I see you. It's always dogs. Dogs always do it. I finished. Good Lord. I didn't ever really conclude my thoughts on Manacled. I finished it, I think, 2 nights ago, and it's safe to say that I loved it. I think throughout it, I was really conflicted because I had no idea what was gonna happen. And I kind of already talked about what it's about, but it's pretty much a Draco and Hermione fanfic if you haven't heard of it. And so it takes place after the final war at Hogwarts in the movie, in like a hypothetical world where Voldemort won the war. And so he's kind of like taken over, and everyone who was on the revolt side in Harry Potter is kind of like taken prisoner or killed. And so you're in Hermione's point of view, and she has been taken as like a prisoner of war, and Voldemort has taken a special interest in her because of like her place in the revolt, and especially because while she was captured, she like concealed a large portion of her memories, and so he is convinced that like those memories are like the key to whatever it is he's trying to do. And so she's taken as a prisoner of war, and it's Draco's job to try and like figure out what those memories are. And so for a large portion of the book, you're in her point of view while she's like enslaved by Draco. And then about like a third of the way through the book, you kind of jump into flashbacks, and you start to learn what those memories that she concealed are and why she had to conceal them. And then the back half of the book, like the last third of the book, is then back in the present, and they're trying to kind of figure everything out. And it was really, really good the entire time. I think I said this multiple times, but I was like, I can't see how this book has a happy ending. Like, for the life of me, I could not like accept the fact that it could have a happy ending because of like the reactions that I would see everyone else have at the end of this book, and how like everyone was like, I'm a different person than I was like from starting this book to finishing it. And so I was like, I'll be happy if they end up together. I'll be happy if both of them die together, but like I cannot live in a world where one of them lives and one of them dies. But yeah, safe to say, I didn't know what to expect going into this book, and it was so good. I think like it starts off kind of intimidating, kind of slow because it's such a long book. And so like I just felt so defeated at the beginning because I was like, this, like, I'm never gonna get through this pretty much. But I genuinely think like the middle portion, like where you're in the flashbacks, is the best part of the book. Like that is the part that like fully had me invested and like had me worried for the future and like the present moment when you like get out of those flashbacks. And so I genuinely think the middle portion of the book was the best part, and like the end. With all that being said though, I feel like I didn't have the reaction I was expecting at the end of the book. Like I saw everyone like sobbing and breaking out into tears, and like I was sad definitely at portions, and there were portions of it where I cried. Especially with the house elves, because something about a house elf, Dobby and everyone else, like something about them will get me every single time. Protect them at all costs. But yeah, I wasn't like, I was expecting a more intense reaction at the end of the book, but it was still really good and I still really liked it, and I did give it 5 stars. So all in all, it was a great read. I just was expecting, I guess, a little bit more from the ending than what I got, but it was like not bittersweet, that's not the right word, but it was good. Like it ended in a good place, in a way that it needed to end, and in a good way to like tie up the rest of the story. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this hodgepodge of a video. I know it started out as something completely different than what it turned into, but it was still fun, and we still got to talk about some books along the way. Yeah, hopefully maybe you'll see The Shining in another video at some point, but don't get your hopes up, because I do have a lot of anticipated releases coming out soon, so I think that that will be a video in and of itself. But anyway, thanks for sticking with me through this if you did. Hopefully I can be more consistent with posting and creating in general. I kind of just go through phases where like I get an itch and I want to do it every single day, and then there are months that go by and I'm just busy. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys somewhere else super soon. Bye.